This is a flat top stormer of Lou Lutchie's on space control, and he's going to be taxiing out. And he did a lot of flying with that thing, and he had some problems with it. I think this was the day when he lost his elevator servo locked and full up, and he just handed it to me and says, "You land it." And it was not any, we just hoped the battery didn't go dead before. There's the transmitter. You hope the battery didn't go dead before you got it on the ground because you had a stalled servo out there, locked up mechanically. And anyway, here's another 12 inches to the foot, a KB 50 refueler coming into Honolulu International, which of course Hickam used the same runways. And here goes, this is Art Johnson's boy with their Tory. He had nice kids. Anyway, just flying. Young Johnson flying. And here's, I believe this is the F8 pilot from Kaneohe, I believe. He was a Marine major, and he retired out of there. There he is. He retired out of the Marines there. There's Howard Ho with his back to us, and there's Lou Lutchie leaning down. Like I said, Lou is an instructor pilot in T-Birds. Here I am with my number 2 qualifier. Number 2 had a VECO 45 in it. You see the number 1 back there. And number 2 with the VECO 45, it was stock, balanced correctly and everything, and had standard ailerons. And it was a lot faster than my number 1. And get it up there, get it up, get it up, get it up. As I said, Lou Lutchie was having problems with his eyes one day and he crashed. There's Bob Barnes. I may have said the wrong name for him before. The Hawaiian Airlines pilot. We used to converse back and forth with tapes, voice recording tapes. I hope he's still alive. It's been a long time. Like I said, this was about 1963. And there's Bob. And there's a Sultan. And here's the flight line. That's somebody leaning down looking at my airplane. And here's somebody's. There were 2 airplanes that looked like the Small Hog, the VECO White Cloud and the Explorer. And both airplanes, when you put ailerons on them and gave them ailerons, all they would do is do an adverse yaw. This is a famous F8 landing from the fighter pilot. Here's part of the flight line. They would just yaw. They wouldn't roll at all. There's Lou. He's getting ready to taxi and go. I think this was the flight where he lost his servo. We'll find out in a minute. Lou let an airplane go one time in his backyard, and it went right down the alleyway, no wing on it, and went right in front of a car on the road, and I think almost got flattened. And never again would he do that. You notice there it is. I'm taking the transmitter, and the elevator servo is full locked up. And really, there was nothing to do except just make sure that it didn't snap into a spin. If it looked like it was going to get into a spin, you kind of tried to walk it out of it. And it just came in full up elevator. And this is a later date because Lou since it was the ailerons, the elevator servo, he had to send the whole thing back, and he got it back from Zell Ritchie real quick. Zell was a gentleman, a fine fellow. He had space control was him after he bought it from Herschel Tuman from Electrosolids Corporation in Van Nuys. And he produced the space control. It has some teething problems, but Zell was a good guy, and I liked him. He was a good friend. But I lost him. I guess he went to Australia, and he was selling NutraBio or something like that. And everybody seemed to lose contact with him, but he was a number 1 fellow. And one day at Bakersfield, I had a crash caused by my battery pack going out, and he just pulled another battery pack out of his box and gave it to me. It was Bill Williams. It had Willie's name on it, and I put it in my airplane and was cranking the engine when they called the end of the contest. I got 4th place with 1 flight First place was Doug Spring. I was flying a DeBolt Crusader. It was the only airplane on the place that do a airplane that would do a vertical 8. There's Lou, and there's me, stuffing. That's my qualifier 2. Look at those good-looking legs. I still have those good-looking legs. The rest of me is not quite so good-looking. All went, you know, weight went up, and you know where it went. Anyway, Lou's going to take off with his aircraft, and it was fast. This is the airplane that I wanted to borrow when I stacked mine and was wanting to go to the Nationals in 1963. But Lou had stacked his airplane too, so I went to the 63 Nats as a spectator. There's Lou concentrating. Lou had flown flight tests at Eglin and was a very, very skilled full-size airplane pilot. And what he used to do is take out full kernels and things like that. Lou's job at Hickam was he was an operations officer at the Discovery Nose Cone Recovery Outfit, which had 119s and then C-130s, and the Discovery orbital polar orbit things would go up and go round and round and drop their nose cone. He'd dispatch aircraft out to snare the nose cone in flight before it dropped into the Pacific Ocean. Those same 130s, by tail number, ended up flying in a reserve group, search and rescue, at Sunnyvale, North Carolina, or Sunnyvale, California, at the Moffett Naval Air Station. And they're still there, same tail numbers, 40 years later, flying search and rescue, same C-130s. And you can look at them and see where they had the yokes fastened to the nose of the aircraft. That was me. That caught the snared the cable that went was from the balloon and the parachute for the Discovery nose cone. They had a kind of an unusually shaped nose that allowed that, special modifications. And here we are still at Barber's Point having a good time. Everybody's having a good time. Still having a good time, I think. And we're having a good time. Barber's Point. This is Lou flying spaceless control. Lou had a good touch, and he was not a contest person, but he got so he could haul the thing around pretty good and compensate for its sluggishness and no power on the servos. You can see that was pretty good. Here we go with my qualifier number 2 again, and just boring holes in the sky. And here's my landing. And here we are. I'm stooping over, and Lou's holding his own airplane there on the ground. And there goes Lou. Awful lot of flight pictures, you know, that are just flight pictures. And a person ought to get up close and personal to people and just take pictures of people that are on the flight line and talk to them and what have you. And I would do that if I had a video camera, but I never did get one. And I don't even, nobody uses 8mm film anymore, so I'm stuck with just pictures. No more videos, no more moving things. Kind of wowie. As I said before, with Orbitrol, Dunham couldn't fly a single stick at all, but he could do magic with the Tools 2-stick, even with an analog proportional. This was a misbehaving